Hello and welcome to Quarterlight. Today we're actually outside looking at a car for something a bit different. Yes, we're still a brochure channel and they're still going to be featured as our main weekly or 3 weekly episodes of brochures, but we might as well include some actual car footage as well. Today we're looking at the Volkswagen Golf. The Volkswagen Golf came out in 1974 and has been a huge success for Volkswagen, now exceeding Volkswagen Beetle sales to being Volkswagen's biggest selling name brand. Later on, the Mark II evolved into being a slightly larger vehicle, and by now the Mark IV, they tried to make it, I wouldn't say a luxurious vehicle, but they certainly tried to improve the quality and make it a bit more upmarket vehicle. The Mark IV came out in Europe in 1997, followed by the sedan or saloon, which was referred to as the Volkswagen Jetta in North America, but in the UK at least they changed the name to the Volkswagen Bora because sedans or saloons were such poor sellers for Volkswagen. Of course, the Golf was still the best seller over there. The love for hatchbacks was still ongoing. There was even an estate version that came out in 1999. The UK, their models arrived a few months later. Here in North America, it was years later, the first Mark IV arriving in 1999 for the Golf. And production ran on till around about 2006 here in North America, when in Europe production had long stopped around about 2003-2004 for the introduction of the Mark V. Now, often in the brochures for the Volkswagen Golf Mark IV in Europe, the main feature was this headlamp. It really was quite an innovation at the time, and it was something a little bit different. It doesn't look anything special by today, but at the time this was kind of like the main feature. I think mainly because for reasons of trying to keep that Golf DNA going, it changed very little to the bodywork itself. But anyway, let's have a walk around this particular car. It is my car, it's a car that's been well used with a lot of miles on it, but we'll have a look at the vehicle, and in future videos we'll probably do some repair videos as well for this car. But anyway, let's have a walk around. So here is this car. It's a 2003 TDI. The colour, if you're interested, is Mojave beige metallic. I think in the UK it was just called desert beige, but there we go, I just call it gold, but there we go. It's a well used car. It's got 300,000 kilometres on it, which is about 187,000 miles. Now, at this time, the main two vehicles you could get was either a 2 litre petrol or this 1.9 TDI, either as a GL or a GLS. The GL could also be had in a 2-door. The GL had things like power windows, CD player, cruise, etc. The GLS added an electric sunroof. The boot is very good. Like I say, I think this is a huge advantage of the Golf over the Bora or Jetta, is that huge boot and the folding seats, which made hatchbacks so popular in Europe. We got many things to do. I mean, you can see the caps are missing off the alloys, they need putting back in there. But as we open the door, we'll have a look inside. First of all, there is that sunroof on the GLS version, which is standard at this time as well in 2003. The seat is worn and ripped. The steering wheel is very worn, really showing that 300,000 kilometres. The radio works, but I don't think the aerials fit it, so we'll have to play around with that. Overall, quite roomy inside for a small car, and the seats are in reasonable condition even though they're extremely dirty. I've never cleaned this interior, I've not had this car long, so I'll get it cleaned up at some point in time. An interesting thing with these North American cars is, look, made in Brazil. Yeah, they don't build them in Germany over here, it's built in Brazil. Now, whether the build quality is any worse than a German car, I'm not sure. I've not really seen any poor build quality on it in the short time I've had it. But I know in Europe, Volkswagens have a huge reputation. Here in North America, the reputation isn't quite as good. So I don't know if that's because of the built in Brazil, like many of the German cars over here. We'll have a quick look under the bonnet. With Volkswagens, it's, well, I say easy. You open it, this little thing pops out, and then you can open it. In theory, one-handed, although it's always really hard when you're holding the camera at the same time. But there we go, that is that 1.9 TDI engine. And of course, diesels had the huge emissions standard later on, and we'll have a little bit of a talk about that. But roughly in 2015 in North America, they stopped selling diesels. It was a bit of a disaster for Volkswagen overall. But there we have it, the Volkswagen Golf 2003 TDI. So yeah, the interior is certainly a step up from the Mark III for sure, and they're reasonably well equipped. Electric windows all round, electric sunroof, heated seats, etc, etc, which is reasonable for 2003. Interesting, this radio has got a CD slot. It's also got a little place for a cassette in there as well. I'm not sure if they work yet. I know the radio isn't working. I've got a feeling it's just been thrown in there and not connected to the aerial, but we'll have to investigate that later on. There were evidence of another radio being put in at one time. I'm just thinking this might have been just thrown in there just to fill the gap. Now, these Golfs, yes, they were a step up. There are a lot nicer materials used in them overall. But like I said, this is an old car. It's got 300,000 kilometres on it. It's starting to show that age on the inside for sure. There's going to be many jobs we need to do with this one. I've already changed the serpentine belt on it, as that broke when I picked it up, of all things. So I'll put a new one of them. The other thing is the wipers have completely seized. They're not working at all. So I think that's going to be one of the first jobs to try and get them wipers working. We'll probably see that in a future video. So I really picked this car up really because I was missing European cars here in Canada. I've had a couple of trucks, a Ram 1500 and a Chevy Silverado with a 5.7 V8 while I've been here. But really, like I say, I was missing small European cars. And there's very little choice, to be honest with you. If you want a diesel, really your only go-to car choice really is a Golf, unless you move up to Audis and Mercedes, of course. Now, as we've talked about briefly, in 2015, Volkswagen stopped selling diesels out here in North America due to that emissions scandal. So there aren't that many diesels left, and of course the numbers are going to decrease. I was also missing the manual transmission. Always had automatics while I've been out here, as that is the vast majority of cars. So one interesting thing is to really see how a diesel performs in Canada. Like I say, it's around about 28-29 degrees here today. The winter usually goes down to -30, and we usually have a few days at -40, so that's going to be a real issue. Now we do have a block heater on there which we plug into the wall to keep the heat up, and of course we've got winter diesel as well, but it's only going to be interesting to see how that performs during the winter months. It's always been a Manitoba car, this one. It originally came from a main dealer in Winnipeg when it was new, so of course it must have gone through many Manitoban winters. But for me, this is a bit of an experiment. I've never had a diesel out here in Canada, so that's something to look forward to, and we'll certainly keep you informed of how it gets through those deep snow and very cold winters. Thank you so much for watching Course Light today. There will of course be more updates on the Volkswagen Golf, Pedro as we call him now, and of course many more brochure videos to come. So we'll see you very soon. So we'll say goodbye. Please like and subscribe, and we'll see you very soon. Goodbye.